I stayed silent when my husband called me his youthful mistake in front of everyone and laughed. The laughter was the worst part. It was a ripple of polite, sycophantic chuckles from 100 of the city's most powerful people, all echoing my husband's casual, brutal dismissal. I stood just behind his shoulder, in a simple, elegant, and 10-year-old, black dress, my hand on his arm, the perfect, supportive, and aging wife. Before we get into this story of total transformation, if you have ever felt underestimated, this story is for you. Hit that subscribe button, join our family, and let's get into the strength of a woman who was pushed too far. My name is Lena Hayes. I am 52 years old. My husband, Marcus, is 38. He is Marcus Hayes, the charismatic, boy-genius CEO of Apex Developments, a man who had, in the last decade, miraculously managed to build on parcels of land that every other developer in the city had declared unbuildable. Tonight was his triumph, the grand opening gala for his new flagship tower, the Citadel. He was at the podium, a glass of champagne in his hand, his other arm around his new protégé, a 24-year-old marketing VP named Chloe, who was wearing a dress that looked like it was sewn from diamonds. And finally, he'd said, his voice booming over the microphone, "I have to thank my brilliant team. My new partner, Chloe, she is the future." He looked at her with an intimacy that was a public slap in my face. Then, he looked at me. And, of course, my dear wife, Lena. The woman who's been with me since the beginning. He paused, and the crowd awed. He leaned into the mic, his voice a conspiratorial whisper. "We all have one, don't we? A youthful mistake." He laughed. The crowd, his investors, his mother Rosalind, all laughed with him. I just smiled. I stayed quiet. I was the good, supportive, silent wife. He thought I was his youthful mistake. He had no idea I was his only asset. I am not just Lena Hayes. In the shadowy, high-stakes world of geological cartography, I am Astra. I am an anonymous, independent consultant. I use ground-penetrating radar, seismic data, and a set of proprietary algorithms I designed myself to create a complete, 3D map of the city's subterranean world, every forgotten subway tunnel, every hidden aquifer, every shift in the bedrock. My Astra maps are the single most valuable, and most secret, dataset in the development world. Marcus's genius wasn't in building. It was in marrying. He had married, 15 years ago, a brilliant older woman, a mentor. What he didn't know was that I was the anonymous Astra he had been desperately trying to identify for years. The hidden secret was a masterpiece of deception. He thought he was buying Astra's priceless data through a secure, anonymous, offshore consulting firm. He was buying it from me. For 15 years, he had been laundering his own company's money back into my personal, untraceable accounts, paying his mistake of a wife millions of dollars a year for the very data that made his company viable. He was disrespecting me in public, all while unknowingly paying me a fortune in private to be the brain behind his entire operation. He thought I was a pauper. I was the bank. But tonight, the hook, the youthful mistake comment, it wasn't just an insult. It was a termination. He didn't need Astra anymore. He had Chloe. And he had just finished the Citadel, his masterpiece, his final, crowning achievement. He was done with me. He was about to find out. I was done with him, too. I endured the rest of the party. I smiled. I nodded. I was the perfect, invisible, simple wife. We went home to the penthouse, the one I had bought, but that was in his name, a legal formality, he'd said. He was drunk, arrogant, and triumphant. "Big night, Lena," he slurred, tearing off his tie. Big night. The Apex is a go. The Citadel is built. Chloe is. God, she's amazing. She's the future. She is, I said, my voice quiet. I'm tired, he said. He didn't mean from the party. I'm tired of this. Of you. He stumbled into the master bedroom and, within minutes, was passed out, dead to the world. I stayed silent. I did not cry. I waited until the sound of his deep, drunken snoring filled the apartment. Then, the counterattack, escape and rebuild, began. I went to my sewing room. He called it that. It was my command center. My real life was in here. My servers. My data. My identity. He thought he was done with Astra. He thought he had the final maps for the Citadel. He had no idea. I logged into my system. Astra, the ghost, came online. First, I initiated a full data transfer. My entire life's work, the complete, unredacted 3D map of the city's underworld, was transferred to a new, secure, offline server, currently sitting in a vault in Zurich. Second, I initiated Project Eclipse. The Astra data that Marcus, and every other developer in the city, used? It wasn't the real data. It was a subscription. It was a live feed, hosted on my servers in my sewing room. I typed one command, terminate_all_feeds. As of 3:17 a.m., every single Apex project in the city, including the finished Citadel, went dark. Their maps were now blank. Their geological data, gone. They were building blind. Third, I packed. One suitcase. My personal drives. My passport. Fourth, I went to the master bathroom. He was still snoring, a dead weight. I took out a stick of my reddest, most vibrant lipstick. And on the massive, floor-to-ceiling mirror, I wrote my message. The youthful mistake wrote her final note. Then, I walked out. I didn't just lock the door. I used my Astra access to the building's smart grid, a system I had helped design, and I triggered a full, high-level security lockdown of the entire penthouse. He was not just asleep. He was trapped. I was at the airport, on a private jet, paid for by Astra, before the sun came up. I was in Geneva by the time he woke up. He woke up around 11 a.m. He woke up to a splitting headache, a strange silence, and the blare of his own alarm. He stumbled out of bed. Lena? Lena, make me a coffee. Silence. He found the apartment empty. He found my closet, empty. He found the pile of my simple clothes, my boring shoes, in a heap on the floor. He probably laughed. Thought I'd run home to my mother. But then he went into his bathroom to splash water on his face. He looked up. He saw the mirror. And he froze in shock. The message, written in blood-red, mocking lipstick, was not from Lena. It was from me. I'm not your youthful mistake, Marcus. I'm your only asset. You just lost your Astra data feed. And the Citadel, it's not stable. You've been building on a fault line. Good luck. Astra. The words on the mirror seemed to drip like fresh wounds. You've been building on a fault line. Marcus stared at them, his reflection fractured by the red lipstick letters. His breath was coming in short, panicked gasps. Astra, he whispered. No. No, that's impossible. Lena is just Lena. He scrambled for his phone. He dialed my number. The number you have reached is no longer in service. He dialed his mother, Rosalind. Marcus, she answered, her voice groggy. It's 11 a.m. Why are you calling? Is Lena packing? Mom, shut up, he screamed, his voice cracking. It's the data. The feeds. Check the Apex servers. Now. He dropped the phone and ran for the door. He grabbed the handle. Locked. He punched the keypad code. 1-2-3-4, access denied. He tried again. Access denied. Open, he yelled, kicking the heavy, reinforced steel door. A cool, synthesized voice filled the apartment. It was the smart home system. My system. I'm afraid I can't do that, Marcus. The penthouse is currently in quarantine mode due to a undetected pest infestation. Pest, he shrieked. I am the owner. Override. Override code Alpha 1. Override code invalid. Current administrator, Astra. He was trapped. Trapped in the luxury cage he had bought with my money, locked in by the system I had designed, staring at the lipstick message that told him his entire life was a lie. While he was banging on the doors, I was 4,000 miles away, sitting on a terrace overlooking Lake Geneva. The air was crisp and clean. I sipped an espresso. Across from me sat Julian Sterling, my lawyer, and the only other person on earth who knew the identity of Astra. He was a man of few words and impeccable suits. The feed termination is complete, Lena, Julian said, looking at his tablet. Every major construction project in the city managed by Apex Developments has just gone blind. The ground-penetrating radar, the seismic stabilizers, the water table monitors, they're all offline. They are flying blind. Good, I said. And the Citadel? The sensors are dead, Julian confirmed. But... Lena, is it true? The note? About the fault line? I took a sip of coffee. Oh, yes. It's very true. This was the hidden secret suspense. The depth of the trap I had laid. Marcus is arrogant, Julian. He thinks he can build anywhere because Astra tells him how to stabilize the ground. But 3 years ago, when he bought the land for the Citadel, I saw the data. There is a dormant, but unstable, microfault running directly under the north foundation. Julian's eyes widened. I didn't tell him, I continued calmly. I didn't warn him. Instead, I designed a custom, automated stabilization protocol for the building's foundation. Hydraulic dampeners that adjust in real time to the microtremors. As long as the Astra feed is live, the building is safe. It compensates. And you just cut the feed, Julian whispered. I did. The dampeners are now locked. The next time a subway train passes 3 blocks away, or a heavy truck drives by, the Citadel is going to start to lean. Not enough to fall. Just enough to crack. Just enough to be condemned. Back in the penthouse, Marcus had finally been rescued. He had to smash a window and wave a towel until the fire department came. It was a humiliation, captured by the paparazzi who were camped out waiting for the happy couple. He rushed to his office, disheveled, still in yesterday's clothes. The Apex headquarters was in chaos. Mr. Hayes, his VP of operations yelled, running up to him. The screens. They're all black. We've lost contact with the geological servers. The foremen at the West Side project are screaming, they hit a water main because the map was wrong. Get Astra on the phone. Marcus roared, storming into his office. Pay them whatever they want. Just get the feedback up. We can't, sir, the VP stammered. The contact number, it's dead. The email bounced. The offshore account, it's closed. Astra is gone. Marcus slumped into his chair. He looked at Chloe, who was sitting on his leather sofa, filing her nails, looking annoyed. What is going on, Marcus? She snapped. I have a photo shoot at the Citadel in an hour. Why is everyone freaking out? Because, Marcus whispered, staring at his black computer screen, Lena. Lena is Astra. Your wife. Chloe laughed. The old lady? Please. She can barely work the TV remote. She built the remote, you idiot. Marcus yelled, finally snapping. She built everything. She's been playing me. For 15 years. The money, the data, it was her. It was always her. His phone rang. It was the city inspector. Mr. Hayes, the inspector's voice was grave. We're getting readings from the Citadel. Stress fractures in the north piling. The automated stabilizers have gone offline. We're issuing an immediate evacuation order. You need to get down here. The Citadel. His masterpiece. His legacy. It was cracking. Marcus looked at Chloe. He looked at the awards on his wall. He realized, with a sickening lurch, that he wasn't a genius. He was a puppet whose strings had just been cut. "What do we do?" he whispered. "We find her," his mother, Rosalind, said, storming into the office. She had heard the news. Her face was a mask of fury. "We find that ungrateful, deceitful woman, and we force her to turn it back on. We sue her. We bury her." "With what money, mother?" Marcus asked, his voice hollow. The accounts, the Astor payments, they were millions a month. They drained the operating capital. "We're cash poor. We spent it all building the Citadel." He stood up. He walked to the window. He looked out at the skyline. He could see the Citadel in the distance. It looked tilted? Or was it his imagination? "She wants something," he said. "She wouldn't just destroy her own money train. She's negotiating." "Then offer her a settlement." Rosalind shrieked. "No," Marcus said. "She doesn't want money. She has all the money. She wants me to beg." My phone in Geneva rang. I looked at the caller ID. It was Marcus. I looked at Julian. "He's ready." I picked up. "Hello, Marcus." "Lena," his voice was broken. "Turn it back on. Please. The Citadel, it's going to fail. People could get hurt." "The building is evacuated, Marcus," I said calmly. "I sent the alert to the city myself an hour ago. No one will get hurt. Except you." "What do you want?" he begged. "I'll leave Chloe. I'll apologize. Publicly. I'll say it was a mistake." "I don't want your apology, Marcus," I said. "I want a board meeting." "A what?" "A board meeting. Tomorrow. 9 a.m. At the Apex headquarters. You. Your mother. The entire executive board. And me." "You're in Geneva," he said. "I have a very fast plane," I replied. "Be there, Marcus. Or I release the fault line report to the press. The one that proves you knew the land was unstable and built anyway." "I didn't know," he screamed. "My records say you did," I lied smoothly. "I have an email sent from your account overriding the safety warnings. It's a forgery, of course. But it's a perfect one. Astra is very good at digital footprints." He gasped. I was framing him. Just as he had dismissed me. 9 a.m., I said. "And Marcus? Wear a nice suit. It's going to be a historic day." I hung up. "The plane is fueled," Julian said, standing up. I stood. I smoothed my dress. I wasn't the simple wife anymore. I wasn't even just Astra. I was the landslide. The boardroom of Apex Developments was located on the 40th floor, wrapped in glass, offering a panoramic view of the city skyline. In the center of that view, like a tombstone, stood the Citadel. It was dark. The lights were off. The construction crews were gone. It loomed over the city, a billion-dollar mistake waiting to crack. At 8:55 a.m., the room was full. The board of directors, 12 men and women who controlled the city's real estate market, sat in grim silence. They looked at the blank monitors on the wall where the astrogeological feeds usually ran. They were flying blind, and they knew it. At 9 a.m. sharp, the heavy oak doors opened. Marcus walked in. He was wearing the suit I had told him to wear, but it hung loosely on him. He looked like a man who hadn't slept in days. His mother, Rosalind, walked beside him, her head held high, but her hands trembling as she clutched her pearls. They took their seats at the head of the table. "Gentlemen, ladies," Marcus began, his voice cracking. "We are experiencing a temporary technical setback. A contract dispute with a vendor. We are handling it." "Handling it?" one of the directors, a man named Mr. Henderson, snapped. The city has condemned the Citadel, Marcus. They say the foundation is shifting. Our stock has dropped 40% in 24 hours. Who is this Astra? Get them on the phone. I am right here. The voice came from the entrance. I walked in. I was not the Lena they knew. I wasn't wearing the beige cardigans or the sensible flats. I was wearing a structural white suit, sharp as a scalpel. My hair was down, a silver-streaked mane. I walked with the heavy, grounded stride of a woman who owns the very earth beneath her feet. Julian Sterling walked beside me, carrying a single, thick black binder. Lena? Rosalind gasped. What are you doing here? This is a closed meeting. Security. Sit down, Rosalind, I said. I didn't raise my voice. I simply projected authority. And to her shock, and mine, she sat. I walked to the other end of the table, facing Marcus. I am Astra, I announced. The room erupted. You? Henderson asked, incredulous. Marcus's wife? His ex-wife, I corrected. And the sole proprietor of Astra Geomatics. The company that has kept Apex Developments from collapsing into sinkholes for 15 years. I nodded to Julian. He placed the binder on the table and opened it. He connected his laptop to the main screen. The monitors flickered to life. Shutterstock. A 3D map of the city appeared. It was breathtakingly detailed. And right under the Citadel, a jagged red line pulsed. This, I said, pointing to the screen, is the fault line Marcus built on. The one I warned him about 3 years ago in a report he didn't have time to read. Marcus looked at the screen, then at me. He looked like a child who had broken a priceless vase. You knew, he whispered. I knew, I said. And I built the stabilizers to counter it. Stabilizers that require a live data feed to function. A feed that I own. And a feed that I have terminated. Turn it back on, a director shouted. We'll pay you. Name your price. My price, I said, is the company. What? Marcus stood up. You can't, this is my company. I built this. You built nothing. I slammed my hand on the table. You were the face. I was the foundation. You were the boy genius, and I was the youthful mistake. Well, Marcus, the mistake was yours. You thought you could discard the person who made you real. I looked at the board. Here is the reality. The Citadel is dead. Without my active stabilization protocols, the torque from the city's subway system will crack the foundation within, I'd say 48 hours. I checked my watch. You have a choice. Choice A, you keep Marcus. The building falls. The lawsuits bankrupt you. The city investigates, finds the forged safety reports Marcus filed, and you all go to prison for negligence. The directors looked at each other, terrified. Or choice B, I continued. You vote to remove Marcus Hayes as CEO immediately. You dissolve his shares. You strip him of all assets to pay for the damages. And, you sell the controlling interest in Apex Developments to me. For $1. $1? Rosalind shrieked. You thief. It's a fire sale, Rosalind, I said coldly. And the building is on fire. If you sell to me, I told the board, I will reactivate the stabilizers long enough to safely dismantle the building. I will save the rest of your projects. I will rebrand the company. And you will keep your money. But he, I pointed at Marcus, leaves with nothing. Henderson looked at Marcus. He looked at the red line on the screen. He looked at the plummeting stock ticker on his phone. I move to remove Marcus Hayes as CEO, Henderson said. Seconded, another director said instantly. All in favor? Every hand went up. Marcus stood there, stripped of his crown in 60 seconds. Lena. He whispered. Please. The penthouse, my car. I have nothing. You have Chloe, I said. Oh, wait. I heard she took a flight to Ibiza this morning with a tennis pro. Never mind. I slid a paper across the table. The sale agreement. Sign it, Marcus. Or I turn the fault line report over to the district attorney, and we add criminal negligence to your resume. He signed. His hand shook so hard the pen tore the paper. He looked up at me, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, he choked out. I'm so sorry. You were everything. I know, I said. And you were a mistake. I signaled to security. Please escort Mr. Hayes and his mother from the building. They are trespassing. The resolution was not a quiet fade to black. It was a demolition. 3 days later, the city watched as the citadel was brought down. I stood in my new office, watching the charges blow. The building, the symbol of Marcus's ego, collapsed into a neat pile of dust and rubble. It was a controlled implosion, calculated to the millimeter by my algorithms. It was the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. Marcus was ruined. He declared bankruptcy. He was sued by the investors I didn't save. He moved back into a small apartment with Rosalind, who spent her days reminding him of what he had lost. He got a job selling timeshares. He was a salesman, after all. But my legacy was not just survival. It was dominion. I did not start a charity. I did not retire. I rebranded Apex. The new company is called Bedrock. We don't build flashy towers. We build infrastructure. We build bridges, tunnels, and dams. We build the things that last. We are the most expensive, most trusted engineering firm in the world, because we are the only ones who see what lies beneath. I am no longer the silent wife. I am the Iron Queen of infrastructure. I walk onto construction sites in my white suits and hard hat, and grown men tremble, because they know that if I say the ground is bad, the ground is bad. 6 months later, I was at a ribbon cutting for a new suspension bridge. I saw him in the crowd. Marcus. He looked older, tired, wearing a cheap suit. He was watching me. Our eyes met. He waited, maybe hoping for a smile, a nod, a sign that the soft Lena was still in there. I didn't smile. I didn't frown. I just looked through him, as if he were a ghost, or a glitch in the data that had been corrected. Then, I put on my sunglasses, turned my back, and walked across the bridge I had built. What this story teaches us is that you should never build your life on the backs of those you disrespect. Because the person holding you up is the only one who knows exactly how to bring you down. If you believe in the power of the solid ground, hit that like button. Subscribe to this channel for more stories of the underestimated taking over the world. We'll see you in the next one.